Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again, ladies and gentlemen. And today we are here celebrating Afghanistan's win over Sri Lanka. What a big win for Afghanistan. Now, let's be very honest. When we all spoke about this World Cup, we never rated Afghanistan to even win maybe a couple of matches. But now they've gone to win three games, and first time in history they've gone to win two back-to-back games. They're coming off a win against Pakistan. They've gone to defeat Sri Lanka now. Two Asian teams already done. Now they play against Netherlands and Australia and South Africa. Who knows? The dream is still alive. I have Sandibani and Jaren with me. Jaren and Sandibani, incredible game of cricket from Afghanistan once again, showing why they're so mature, showing why they're still a very good force to reckon with in this World Cup. And let's not write them off just too early.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot at all write them off because they still have an outside chance. And I think if you look at it now, them and Pakistan are the two teams who stand an outside chance. And the fact that New Zealand, for instance, is having going to have a very tough set of games, maybe a couple of upsets here and there, and probably be that one team that moves ahead into that top four and a surprise appearance in the World Cup semi-final. I think, especially given the fact that the kind of the last few months and how it has gone for Afghanistan as a nation, the earthquake and the casualty that came out of it and everything else, even the political circumstances. I think it's a great thing for for the Afghani people that their cricket team is doing so well in the World Cup. And as you all know, right, these kind of moments in a World Cup, it's just it just inspires generations like India in 1983 or Sri Lanka as well when they won their World Cup. So these are the kind of World Cups that inspires generations of cricketers, and I think Afghanistan is having one of them already.
Absolutely. But Sadiba, let's just talk about today's game in particular. I mean, Sri Lanka, I still thought was below par by 30, 40 runs. But what a beautiful batting by Afghanistan as well. Just made sure they lost a wicket early on by Gurahmullah Gurbaz getting out for naught. 0 for 1 from there. Did not lose their composure at any stage. Build a partnership with Rahmat Shah there, with Ibrahim as Rahmat Shah. Once Ibrahim fell, Rahmat Shah carried on. Then once again, Hashmatullah Shahidi or Omar Zai, they've been outstanding in this World Cup. Omar Zai has been a stellar player, both with the ball and with the bat. He's turning out to be one valuable asset for this team.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Rahmanullah Gurbaz's dismissal early on was going to be a testing period for Afghanistan because the Pune track had something for the Pacers. We saw Fazalak Faruqi coming into the team and absolutely dominating, putting on a dominating display and getting the Man of the Match award as well. Talking about this Afghan middle order, I think this has been one of the most experienced. Okay, Rahmat Shah has been playing for a lot of years right now, but I think this has been one of the more stable middle orders and more consistent middle orders over the years because even in the past you had the likes of say Asghar Afghan or say Najibullah Zadran coming in at number 5, number 6, but the job that Azmatullah and Hasmatullah Shahidi are doing in the middle, Azmatullah Umarzai and Hasmatullah Shahidi, along with say Rahmat Shah, the experience of Rahmat Shah coming in at number 3, it is actually adding a lot of value. And not to forget that today Afghanistan didn't really need the firepower. Come number 6, they have a lot of firepower as well, starting with Mohammad Nabi, Rashid Khan. You can even see a Mujibur Rahman coming in and slogging. So, I mean, they have the firepower with the bat. And what has given them stability or what has given them the 3 wins in this tournament has been their top order batting. The two openers have done a fabulous job, both Ibrahim and Rahmanullah Gurbaz, followed by Rahmat Shah has been that solid linchpin in that middle order, followed by I think the two most consistent batters in their team right now, Hashmatullah Shahidi and Azmatullah Umarzai. Even in the game against India where they lost considerably, I mean it was a batting pitch, but you saw this middle order, the partnership between Hashmatullah Shahidi and Azmatullah Umarzai really going at it and trying to take Afghanistan from a spot of bother to a position where they wouldn't actually get humiliated or the target wouldn't be chased by within say 20 or 25 overs. So I think it was a good fight that they have put on, and this is the key, right? You have to stay in the game for as long as you can, and that is when the bigger teams will make mistakes. I'm saying bigger teams because still on paper you would say Sri Lanka were the favorites heading into this game. Even after that Asia Cup game as well, you saw that Sri Lanka have had the edge over Afghanistan by a small margin in recent times.
Yeah,
But it was a very refreshing win for Afghanistan, and rightly said, I
absolutely.
think two wins against Asian teams. I think they are now right now they are kicking themselves for that early dismal performance against Bangladesh. Just imagine if they would have won against Bangladesh, they would have been tied with Australia on the points.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they'd be really kicking themselves for a couple of mistakes what they did, especially against Bangladesh. Getting on for 156 was criminal. Looking back at things, but Jen, can we now officially say this is the second best Asian team right now, or are we just jumping the gun way too early ahead of some teams? Because this team has given performance of proper one-day cricket in this tournament. I mean, how to really construct a one-day innings, how to chase down scores, how to be calm under pressure, how to use ballers in the right entry points. A lot of things how you play faces out of one-day cricket, which we've been talking about in these live shows for a while now. So can we now say Afghanistan are right behind India to be the second best Asian team? I know they did not do well in the Asia Cup, but in the World Cup they're proven to be the second best Asian team so far.
No, I mean, what went wrong for them in the Asia Cup was the fact that their batting wasn't being as clinical as it is being in this World Cup. The bowling was doing a phenomenal job. They were still restricting teams. It was just, I think we saw a flash of it against. I think it was one of the, I think it was Sri Lanka or
Sri Lanka.
Bangladesh where we saw. Yeah, I think it was Sri Lanka where we saw a flash of it in the Asia Cup, but we never really saw them do the job or get the job done, right? And we always kept criticizing the fact that their batting has been the weaker link of the two. And I think now that the batting is coming good, at least when it comes to form, you would say that yeah, this team is the second best team, definitely at this point in time.
But
Um, you know,
Jaren, honestly, I mean, just to support your point, honestly, I can't remember another instance where Afghanistan has won back-to-back games chasing. I think it is a
yeah,
very rare occurrence.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think I would like to look at the record of it. I don't think Afghanistan has won many games chasing. I think back to back is probably a dream for them. For them to have done it against two world champions, I think it's just phenomenal. And how clinically, right? It's not even like they were stumbling and stuttering to that victory. I know today. I know there was a lot more support from the conditions. Dew came in pretty. I think it came in around 25th, 26th over. Ball was really where it was tough for Sri Lanka to maintain that. But I think the one against Pakistan is one they'll always treasure. Because that was a lot more. It was supposed to be a lot more tougher, but they just made it look easy. And I think Sri Lanka, I can still say that Sri Lankan bowling has looked very lackluster. I wouldn't really blame Sri Lankan bowlers as well because they didn't have much to ball at first off. I think it was a very insipid performance from their batting. They knew that Dew could come in, and I genuinely could not recognize the Sri Lanka that batted today. I don't know whether it was the pressure, whether it was the fact that they were worried they're going to lose and the World Cup's going to be over, but they just
yeah,
came fearful. And I think if you remember, Sri Lanka's biggest strength has been their power play. The fact that they go hard in the power play. If you remember the England match, right? For instance, they lost 2 wickets, but they still scored the large chunk of the runs, and I think that's what was missing today. And with Afghanistan, you knew coming into this match that their weakness is going to be their power play bowling. When it comes to the power play bowling, they hadn't taken a lot of wickets. They were giving close to 6 runs per over because the new ball bowling hasn't been that great.
yeah,
But eerily enough, they only lost 1 wicket. Did Sri Lanka today in the power plays? It was not like suddenly Fazlak Farooqi and Navinul Haq had come out with a bowling masterclass. It was just that Sri Lankans were afraid to lose their wickets. And
yeah.
in these kind of matches, the team that fears the most is going to end up losing, and that's why I'm
Absolutely.
upset.
Absolutely. Alisa De Silva says over here, Uncle Percy ain't gonna forgive such trash performance. And yeah, condolences
Oh
to Uncle
yeah,
Percy as well. A big Sri Lankan cricket fan, or you can say an icon fan. When we talk about Tendulkar's biggest fan, Sudhir, when you talk about one icon fan from a country, it was Uncle Percy who supported good cricket, one of the biggest fans.
yeah.
Condolences to him. He's been a big icon to cricket world in general. But yeah, Uncle Percy, if you were seeing this, you would have been extremely upset with that performance from Sri Lanka. Afghanistan, Netherlands should be given more chances in world cricket. I mean, yes, hopefully the next ODI cycle, we see a lot of these teams playing against bigger nations. And I think that's going to definitely improve. Champions Trophy 2025 is what these two teams
I
will be
think a lot
facing,
of people are
hopefully.
going to take offense to that, Abel. I mean, what do you mean by bigger nations? They are playing the world number one side already. You have
So,
series
Yeah.
guys,
against
there's something
Afghanistan
interesting
versus
that I came across
Pakistan.
about this, right? I will just like the ODI Super League, right? When it was formed, or I think not even ODI Super League. I think they had a conversation about this where they decided, or the discussion was about
Yeah.
creating a league like how you see in the Premier League, right? Those of you who watch football, who watch European football, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. There are two leagues, tier one and tier two, and based on your performance, if your performance is terrible, you slide down to tier two and face teams who are not as strong as tier one teams. And the idea was to create a financial model where the teams in tier one would get more money out of it. But then the issue being the cricketing boards, right? Now, if their team doesn't do well, they would have slipped down to tier one, tier two. That could include Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, West Indies, for instance, or even Afghanistan. Or these kind of teams who are on the periphery. And also, there's a possibility that, let's say India has a terrible year, and then all of a sudden India find themselves in tier two, and suddenly their finances are really broken into half. So the boards were not in favor of it, and that's the reason why that whole ODI cycle was like, okay, we'll have one league, and then the top 10 will play in the World Cup. But even that has now been scrapped, and that's a worrying thing because I remember Netherlands captain Scott Edwards really appreciated this initiative by ICC, because that really helped them get a lot of countries coming in there, right? They got England visiting them, they got Pakistan visiting them, but now next year we're not going to have an ODI Super League, so I don't expect Netherlands to be playing a lot more high profile matches anymore, unfortunately, unless the boards decide to send a B team or a C team there.
No, but I think
Interesting.
the performance that they have put up in this World Cup, they'll surely attract a lot, a lot more. I mean, tournaments, bilateral tournaments ahead. Say from teams like Afghanistan or say a Bangladesh. I think we are going to see more Bangladesh versus Netherlands, Zimbabwe versus Netherlands, and
Yeah.
eventually, if they continue to put on, continue dominating them, then eventually, like Pakistan, they'll also get to face some bigger nations like India, South Africa, England. But I think
Yeah.
it's a long process, and also I think you have to take this also into account that most of Netherlands cricketers are not full-time, one not full-time cricketers back in
Yeah.
2020. It
Yeah.
was a huge a huge tweet was making the rounds yesterday, day before yesterday, after Netherlands won against Bangladesh and Paul van Wickeren won the man of the match. His tweet
Yeah.
from back in 2020 of him delivering Uber Eats, delivering food for Uber Eats just to support his family in the winters. So I think this is the state of players in countries for most of the tier two.
Yeah.
Teams who are in the second league of uh, cricket, even in the Super League. I think the Super League concept, it was really half baked, so it would have
Yeah,
taken
I
a
mean,
long time for it to get going as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, scraping is obviously not a choice, but what can we do? But
I
we'll
think
have to come up
Sanjay,
with
there's
an
also the
alternative really
fact that
soon.
cricket is run by, so every sport is run by their the regulatory body, right?
Yeah.
Football is run by FIFA. When it comes to hockey, it is run by their regulatory body. Olympics is run by IOC. But the issue with cricket is it's a very peculiar sport in this, right? The ICC is actually not it's the boards are on the ICC, and not that the fact that the ICC runs the board, and whatever decision is made, it's a collective of the boards together, and not really the representatives who go to ICC and act as a separate autonomous body. It's they always act in the interest of their boards, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's very difficult to get that equality, at least, or merit based, merit based tour, or merit based league or merit based competition. The only merit based competitions that exist is ICC events. The rest of it is
Yeah.
still bilateral, and bilateral is always created by the boards who look at their financials. And now the issue here is, now a BCCI will think that if we go to Netherlands, I'm pretty sure the Indian cricketers won't probably like the kind of conditions or the hotels or
Yeah,
the
exactly.
facilities
And
that are
also,
provided to them.
Jerin, that is what I
Why would
said,
that?
right? I said it is a very long process. First, they'll have to go and beat Afghanistan and Zimbabwe, and repeatedly show their dominance across
Yeah, I mean,
the teams that they are playing right now, the pool of teams
yeah,
that are along with them in the rankings. Then and only
yeah.
then can you grow, and
I
then
think
you
there's
will
also a
attract.
lot more other factors to Sandeman. It's also the fact that how big will the sport grow in Netherlands, right? Will people, let go of football, or will people who watch football? Football is big, right, in
Yeah,
Netherlands, and you've got hockey as
huge.
well, which is
Exactly.
just as not as big, but it is there. I think probably the second most watched sport. Cricket is nowhere there, and that's the reason why cricket has struggled to get that kind of viewership. If you
Yeah.
get viewership, a lot of things can be resolved. Your money issues, the fact that the government will try and support you, they'll give you better grounds, better facilities. You as a board are able to earn more money, but at this point in time, that's not going to happen. It's very tough for cricket
I think
to keep
that is
it there.
why I think this World Cup is really, really important for them, because remember,
Yeah,
this is also a this will also be a ticket to the 2025 Champions Trophy. Just
yeah,
imagine if Netherlands can somehow manage to keep their eighth spot till the end of the World Cup, till the end of the group stage. We are
Yeah.
already two thirds of the way through. I mean, today was the 38th game. We'll have 15 more games. So 66% of the World Cup group league stage is over, and they are still in contention for that Champions Trophy spot. If they can make it, I think that is going to be huge for
Yeah.
the sports
yeah,
growth in their own country as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
true. I mean, absolutely. I mean, we did speak about this yesterday also, whether Netherlands can
Yeah.
make it or not. But as we said, it is a long process for Netherlands and Afghanistan. But Afghanistan has definitely been an impressive one. I think we got an
Yeah,
interesting question from Michael as well, asking on what's the reason behind Afghanistan's sudden batting rights. And also, Teju says if Afghanistan have talent pool, if they had more support and good cricket structure, they can produce quality cricketers and just add some good batters. They are better than Pak, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. I mean, what's the sudden rise been Afghanistan's batting from Asia Cup to India? I mean, that's one interesting thing which we can talk about. What do you reckon it is, Sandipani?
Yeah, I don't really think it is a sudden batting rise. I think it's just the players are in good form and all of them are clicking together at once. That is something that Afghanistan has never experienced before. Even in the Asia Cup, if you see the game against Sri Lanka, if you give them a good batting track, they can go out there on a do or die game. They did in the do or die game against Sri Lanka. They had to chase some 290 runs in 37 odd overs, and they were really, really close to having it done. They have the power hitters in the game. They are one of the best T20 sides in the world. I mean, they are definitely in top 5 to 6 T20 sides in the world right now. And I definitely feel that the batters had the potential from the 2015-2019 World Cup itself. It's just that they were getting under pressure while chasing. They were really crumbling under pressure. The game against India is a solid example in 2019 World
Yeah,
Cup. They almost had the game in their clutches. The bowlers had them, had India under their spell, but the batters couldn't get the job done, and that has been the story for Afghanistan for a long,
yeah,
long time now. I think it's the youngsters who are playing. Players like Azmatullah Umarzai was not there in the 2019 World Cup. And then again, we go back to the topic of baggage. I think no baggage. This team does not have baggage under a
hmm.
new leadership, a leadership that probably isn't carrying that baggage of, say, Asghar Afghan was carrying, of putting the Afghan cricketers into the map of cricket. I mean, before Asghar Afghan, I don't think Afghanistan were so prominent in cricket. I think the rise
yeah,
has suddenly started from, say, 2015, 2016, where they started consistently making it to the World Cups or the T20 World Cups. They started featuring in it, beating one or two of the top teams, beating defending champions, and suddenly now you see and you expect Afghanistan to perform well. We would have been really disappointed if Afghanistan would have emulated a 2019 performance, because I think Gulbadin Naib, it was, I think, the captain back at 2019. I
yeah,
think he was just the shoulders had already dropped. The pitches were not supporting their spinners, and
yeah,
I think
Yeah, I
Indian
think that's
conditions
also a huge
are,
factor.
yeah, and I think
Yeah,
Indian conditions are a lot favorable to them than England
yeah,
and Wales. And I
yeah,
think they had the batters in them to come and display this sort of performance. It's just that the middle order and the top order has been in extremely good nick. They are exploiting the conditions. They are making use of the dew factor that is coming in late in the evening. So I think all
absolutely,
of the things clicking together, and you can see a sudden rise in the batting. But I think,
absolutely,
yeah.
I don't think it is a sudden rise. I think it they had
Very gradual as
always had
well,
the
if you may
potential.
say.
Yeah, it's really gradual.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Believe me, the fourth spot is open. I mean, yeah, we will talk about as we go ahead in the live. I think it's a very interesting thing to talk about it, primarily because if you look at that fourth spot right now, there's Australia with 8 points, Afghanistan with six, and Afghanistan has got Australia, South Africa, and Netherlands left. So if Afghanistan want to win the next three games, they ended on 12 points, and they'll have to stop Australia from winning a couple of their games as well. So that is how Afghanistan will be hoping. If things go
I
well
think
for
I'll
them,
put my money on South Africa dropping down to 5. I mean, if somebody has to drop, because Australia are on a red hot form. South
yeah.
Africa, 3 games left, one against Afghanistan, so Afghanistan will have to beat
But
them.
you know what?
One
The
against
net
India
run
and
rate
one
is
against
so
New
good
Zealand.
that even if they have to drop down to five, the chances are very rare at this point.
Yeah,
They
but I
have to
think
lose
three
by heavy margin.
losses. Yeah, lose by heavy margins. They have the game against India, against New Zealand, and against uh,
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. So Afghanistan
Yeah.
still has the chance to get one over South
Yeah, they've
Africa
got two
and
big
probably
games.
hold it
Yeah,
up.
a couple also asked me when was the New Zealand versus South Africa game. It's happening on 1st of November, which is day after,
Yeah.
and usually also Pakistan is happening on 4th of November, which is after the Afghanistan was the Netherlands game, which is on 3rd. So that's how it is lined up so far. If things go well, if South Africa go on to defeat New Zealand, then you can say New Zealand will be in slight bit of bother. But if New Zealand go on to defeat South Africa will be under pressure to face India in Eden Gardens. Then the last game in Eden Gardens, which is against Afghanistan, could be an open game. Anywhere, anything can happen.
So
You
the
have,
last game against Afghanistan, South Africa is playing them at Narendra Modi Stadium, which makes it even more,
oh, is
uh,
it another more same?
yeah,
Okay, fine, yeah.
so which makes it even more favorable for Afghanistan because they've got two almost, IPL trophy winners in Ahmedabad. I like
Yeah,
saying
but
that.
I still think maybe Ahmedabad will suit South Africa more than an Afghanistan team because the flat deck, the ball will be
I
seeming in
think
quite a lot.
it depends
Until
on
unless
the
you're gonna
kind.
get a slightly slower Ahmedabad deck with
It all
Yeah,
depends on who is batting first.
true.
sure
True.
that's what's happening. But at the same time, what do you guys reckon about this particular Sri Lankan team from here on? I mean, I know they're out of this World Cup, but what is next for them? I know there's been a huge leadership change in between. The Shanaka wanted to step down. The Shanaka was told not to step down. Then you came into this World Cup by not having two of your main players in Chamira and Hasaranga. Then you come to the World Cup, you waited for Tikshana to get fit. Then you waited for Lahiru Kumara to get fit. We had a couple of games. One against England was extraordinary, one against Netherlands. But other than that, they've been extremely lull.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also the game against Netherlands, it was a really close encounter. Another wicket in the middle, and probably Sri Lanka would have lost that game as well. So I think they have not had the best of World Cups, especially with the ball. I think the injury concerns and everything. I think Hasaranga is a big player that they have been missing because if
Yeah.
you look at Sri Lanka's progress in the white ball format in the last 4 years, it has been all Hasaranga. Thikshana has been doing his part of the job, but that is more in. I feel he is a better bowler against some of the weaker oppositions.
Yeah.
And right now, I think Thikshana is no longer a mystery spinner because I think the mystery is gone.
Yeah.
People know how to read Thikshana. He's just a fast off break bowler. Sometimes trying to bowl that carom ball and who has quite a few of variations. He's just
I think
a downgrade version of Ashwin right now.
I mean, yeah, I think he's done well when it comes to stopping runs. I think that's also always been his role, right? When it comes to
Exactly,
when the
exactly.
reason why Hasranga and Tikshana work so well is because Hasranga was that more aggressive option, the one who took more wickets, while Tikshana ensured that he doesn't give runs away. And I mean, before this match, if you look at Tikshana, he's done that role to perfection. He's giving runs at 4.9 runs per over. Now, I've not counted this match, but just before that, he was doing a
Yeah,
decent
it's
job.
pretty much the
I
same. I
think
think
today
he gave
also
around
he
50
wasn't
runs.
really that
50,
expensive
55.
considering the due factor. He wasn't as expensive, but he's not going to take your wickets away. And now he's your most wicket taking option. Your second spinner is Dhananjay De Silva, who's giving runs away, who's never meant to bowl as a second spinner.
Yeah.
And Sri Lanka's biggest strength is the spin choke. I mean, why did it work? I think the biggest issue for them has been Vilalage's disappointing run. Velalge not being able to pick wickets, going for runs has really hurt them because when in the Asia Cup, right, Velalge was the aggressive option, the one who flighted the ball, took the wickets, made it tougher for the opposition. So people went after Velalge, and this time they were able to go after him because Sri
But
Lanka did play on some
Jerin,
flat.
let's be honest. I think Velalage
It's very raw. It's
is
very
still
bad.
very raw, and he has a
Yeah,
long way to go. I think he's a very
of course.
mediocre bowler right now,
Yeah.
and I think it was just that he really clicked in that game. Talking about if you are talking about Velalage, then you have to also talk about Charit Asalanka because Asalanka went on to pick up 4 wickets in that game. But
Yeah.
Asalanka is a
Absolutely.
very mediocre
No, I
bowler.
mean,
I mean, that
precisely
was
my
a
point.
that had to do a lot with the pitch. If you look at that pitch in which India
Yes,
played
yes.
Sri
So
Lanka,
my
that
point
was
being exactly
a
right.
raw
Him
turner.
playing on flatter tracks, you need a little bit of experience to be that bowler who can still get those wickets. And he went up against some of the most red hot informed batters like Heinrich Klaassen. I think he faced a few of those players. I think he just completely destroyed his confidence. And
Yeah.
even if you look at Sri Lanka's bowling, right, anyone who's performed has gotten injured. I mean, Lahiru Kumara got 4 wickets, gets injured. Before that, I think if you look at before, I think there was an injury before that as well to another
Yeah,
fast
I
bowler
think
who had to
Chamira
go
came
back.
back. I mean, Chamira was also injured. I mean, before the
Yeah,
tournament as well. I
and
think
he
he
came
came
back
back. He made his
yesterday. He had to
debut
ball
today.
today. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
at
And
this
also, I
point in
think just
time,
talking about the inconsistency, I think the squad is also very inconsistent. You have
Yeah.
Sri Lanka are shuffling along with their.
Yeah.
I think the Sri Lankan management should trust their bowlers, especially their spin bowlers, the way they trust their batsmen. You see Sri Lanka giving their batsmen a rope of say 4 to 5 years for their development and growth, no matter how bad they are performing. But if you talk about the Sri Lankan spinners, they hardly get 2 or 3 games. You see them playing 2 or 3 games, 2 or 3 bad games, and they
Yeah.
vanish. And
I
that
think
has been
it's
the
a
problem for Sri Lanka.
persistent consistency which you have to show with these youngsters because Velalagi has got so much of talent. I think you just
But
have
I
to be
think
Yeah.
consistent with him
there's
and
also
see
this
how he
thing, right,
goes about it.
where now you're in a World Cup situation. How much can you really provide him? I mean, we obviously know that he's been very raw, and I think it would have been okay if he was a third spinner. I think they've really missed Hasaranga a lot because he was your experienced bowler who got wickets for you. Now him not being there put a lot of pressure on Velalage, and it's not like Velalage has been bad. He's been really bad. Like he's been going at an average of 98, but that would have been okay if he was not giving runs away. But now he's giving runs away at 6.68. Only gotten 2 wickets. That is a kind of bowler you can't afford to play, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
I think on days where ball turns, yeah, probably you can because he's a young spinner. I'm not. And if you throw him into the Lions Den continuously, there's also a possibility that instead of giving him that confidence, you might end up breaking him because it's easily understandable. Right now, he needs a little bit more exposure. Agreed, but it shouldn't
Yeah.
be that bad of an exposure that you break the young guy. He's still just a under 19 graduate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
At the start of this tournament, nobody, I mean, 95 out of 100 people wouldn't have predicted Sri Lanka to be in the top four unless you are a Sri Lankan fan. I think the condition of the team, the way they were leading up to the tournament, I mean, nobody predicted them to go and perform a miracle, which they have done in the past. 2007, 2011, Sri Lanka are the runners up
Yeah,
of 2 years. They had a T20 World Cup under their belt in 2014. So they have been consistent in ICC tournaments, but that golden era is gone. And the
absolutely.
transition is also done. I mean, the next set of players are also reaching their twilight phase of their career.
Yeah,
So I think Sri Lanka will have a lot of thinking to do. Injury is not helping them. And
yeah.
I feel that nobody actually predicted Sri Lanka to make it to the semifinals. So I don't think, and also they had to lose their captain midway through the tournament, and Kushal Mendes had to take over midway. So I don't really blame the Sri Lankan side
Yeah.
to put on a
Besides,
great show.
yeah.
And it was honestly a surprise that they actually went on to defeat England because everybody predicted England would really roll them. So I think you have to give them some credit to at least win 2 games out of 6 because nobody predicted Sri Lanka to go well, honestly.
I mean, we
Interesting.
all, when we did the preview as well, right? We all said that for Sri Lanka to do well this World Cup,
Yeah.
we need the pitches to be more like the Asia Cup pitches, where it's a 250 to 300, not more than that, or maybe even more preferably 250 to 200 kind of a wicket. But the moment it became a batters tournament, I think that's where Sri Lanka's chances considerably
I think the
fell.
first game of the tournament really demoralized the entire
Of
bowling
course,
group after
yes.
say 425 on a flat Firosha Kotla surface where you
Even if
couldn't
not
really
that, I think
recover
the
out.
second game truly did.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that game is the
Two
reason why
games
you
of
had a
that.
second game, to be very
Yeah.
honest. So that really carried on for Patirana, for Velalage,
I
and for
mean,
everybody in that tournament. Then you wanted a complete revamp in your bowling. Rajita is not really helping the cross. I thought Chamira was their go-to gun bowler, especially when it comes to picking up wickets in the middle overs or up front with a new ball. But him not being there in this team also has deteriorated their confidence to a larger bit.
I mean,
I think,
if you look at
yeah, go
this
ahead.
team able now, Rajita, Tikshana, even an Angelo Matthews, all these lads aren't exactly a prime, bowling lineup leaders. Really, they are the kind of
Yeah,
bowlers you want as your third seamer, probably not more than that. Even not even your
absolutely.
second seamer. But unfortunately, injuries have been a big concern for this team. I think it's time that they, try build a system like what India has with NCA or a high performance institute where they look after these players because their pacers have been having a ton of injuries. Chamira, Lahiru Kumara, I think before that we had a batch of fast bowlers
Yeah.
again getting a lot of injuries. I
But I think
think
Dilshan
even Malinga
Matushaka
towards the
has
end of
been the
his career,
highlight of
he
this
was getting, but
tournament
I
for
think
them.
Malinga is understandable. Yeah, so I think it's time they look at their infrastructure a little bit and maybe a
Yeah,
high performance system because it just seems like Sri Lankan bowlers are getting injured after every match they play. 10 overs they ball or a test match they play, the next match they're getting injured. And when it
absolutely.
comes to Lahiri
I mean,
Kumara,
it's
it was
been
a
the case
training
Sri Lankan
session that
cricket and fast bowlers for a long time, and we don't talk about it enough. We saw Velagadra, we saw Malinga, we saw Dilhara. A lot of these bowlers. Chaminda was also had a long layoff for injuries in his career. So a lot of these
Tuasikra as
bowlers
well.
has had that issues in Sri Lanka, especially when it comes to fast bowlers. I think a lot of systematic changes have to be made structurally because Sri Lanka is not a country known for producing good fast bowlers. I mean, to talk about
Yeah,
Chaminda was yes, obviously he was great. Dilhara was good. Malinga is known for his T20 gimmicks more than his Test match performance. So you don't have longer format bowlers. I mean, even if you look at Madhushanka, he's been excellent. Yeah, as Sandeep was rightly mentioning, Madhushanka has been exemplary. He came through the last Asia Cup where you had again injuries for fast bowlers, so someone had to
Hmm.
come and replace your fast bowler. So that was Madhushanka. Then he got injured right before the World Cup last year. So this year it's good that he's been able to sustain it. So for Sri Lanka, that's been the issue. You see fast bowlers, but then they go away very rapidly because of the injury factor. Nobody's
yeah.
there to nurture them and take care of them for a longer period of time. And without that, you cannot really say they have a good fast bowling unit. I think we saw a comment from can Afghanistan qualify like to semi-final like Kenya did in 2003. There's possibilities at this point. We're not
Yeah.
But I
ruling
think
them
there
out.
is a difference in the format. I think back then you had a Super Six, and then you had the
Hmm.
opportunity to probably beat one or two. I mean, Kenya got the better of Sri Lanka, New Zealand back then. But I think
Yeah.
here, with so little margin of error, it is going to be really difficult. And the way I
Yeah,
think the top four teams are performing, South Africa, Australia, India, and New
yeah,
Zealand, I
yeah.
think it's going to be difficult.
It's gonna be
And I
difficult, but
think
it's not impossible at this
for
point.
them
Not
to
Aisha
impossible.
win,
says the dog ball
for,
percentage for Afghanistan team is going to be a concern. Yeah, I think you saw one of the board today when Jonathan Trott had written number of overs by which they want to achieve certain targets. I mean, they are trying to play for the wins. They're not trying to play for the net run rate or anything else. And I think at this point, this stage for Afghanistan cricket, all they will have to focus is the 2 points more than the net run rate and anything else. Number one priority is the win 2 points. And Jonathan Trott is someone who would stick to his traditional way of playing, and he was always
yeah.
known for that. He
And
would
nothing
stick
wrong
to
with that. If you have 6 wins in this tournament, you are anyway going through.
yeah.
If
I
Afghanistan
mean,
goes on to
I
defeat
will agree
South
with
Africa,
Aisha
Australia,
though.
and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I will just agree with Aisha though. She is on to something because, Afghanistan played 30 balls or so less than Sri Lanka, but the dot ball percentage is only 4% less than them. They're already played 136 dot balls by the end of the 46th over. That is a worry. I think against better teams, yeah, that's going to really hurt you. But then
But if you
when you
look, the
have
dot
such
ball
a low
percentage
target to
against
chase,
Pakistan was extremely low as well. I mean, we don't talk about it enough. I
yeah,
did use the pitch as well. I don't think we have to dwell much into this particular
no, I think
aspect.
I
today,
think,
I think today they took it easy because the target was less,
yeah,
and
I
I think
think,
Sri Lanka were
yeah.
below par with the bat, so
Just
they
to
didn't really have to do much.
just to quote Simon Duell, it doesn't matter how you get to a target when you're chasing, as long as you get to a target. I think when you're
Yeah,
setting a target, you look at these things a lot more because they can
yeah.
potentially increase your target. But when you're batting second, your whole idea is to survive and chase a
As long
target
as we
down,
don't get
and
to
they've
the
done it.
target, then we can actually analyze the
Yeah,
136
and
dot
they've
balls.
done it 5 overs remaining, which means they've done whatever was required. So I think we
Yeah,
won't really look
they
at it
wanted it
because
in 48 overs, but they did it with 5 overs remaining. So
yeah, and
that's
that's
an
brilliant.
absolute upbeat for them. I think Omar Zai's innings really helped towards the end.
Yeah,
Aisha also says Pakistan chief secretary इंजमाम उल हसन able तेरे को पता है हाँ मेरे को पता
Due to
है
conflict
उनकी
of interest.
conflict of
conflict of
interest.
interest investigation हो रही है. That's
No,
what
I
I heard.
think the whole thing has been it's been splurging for the last 1 week since Pakistan have been on a losing phase. You know, everybody managed by agents. A lot of rumors on agents having a say in team selection. Inzamamul Lak's agent is also managing Rizwan and Babar and Shaheen. So all these factors did come out in the media. And yesterday evening or last 2 to 3 days, Babar Azam texting Zaka Ashraf and him not picking up the calls was leaked. And yesterday, someone
Yes.
asked him, Babar Azam, आपने text किया है chief selector chairman को Babar Azam ने कहा मैंने तो text नहीं किया है. All these stats were leaked on public. So weirdly enough, Pakistan cricket team is in chaos right now. Just not the team, outside as well. The team, everything is in chaos. I think it had to do a lot with their performance in the World Cup, and especially when you have such bad times going on in World Cup, everything we're supposed to come out and it has come out in such a manner. I know
Yeah, I
Pakistan is
think
not yet out of the World Cup, but it had to come out the way it did, and that's
I
not really
But
think
then
helping
again,
them.
I think they are taking once again taking the wrong approach, pointing fingers at
oh
the
yeah,
chief selector
absolutely.
and captain. You have to feel for Inzamam ul Haq, who has been the greatest servant of Pakistan cricket for the longest period of time. And a lot of people talking about Babar Azam being the greatest of all time for Pakistan. I totally disagree. I feel there hasn't been a batter like Inzamam ul Haq for Pakistan in a long, long time. Be it Test, be it ODIs, he had given everything to cricket for Pakistan for 15 to 20 years. And I think if you can't show a legend of that stature the amount of respect that he deserves, I think then it's just going the wrong way.
I mean, I just
Yeah.
talk about Inzam ul Haq, right? Today we're celebrating Afghanistan, how they're playing, how they have won. A lot of this the progress that Afghanistan cricket team has had was also under Inzam ul Haq as a batting coach and then as their head coach. So it's not like he's a bad cricket administrator. He's a very good one. I think to take a job with Afghanistan in 2015, by the way, and to do a considerable job with that team, it was impressive. And talking about this conflict of interest, in Imamul Haq, he's your fourth highest run getter in 2023.
I mean, that's
Forget
not the
strike
conflict of
rate,
interest over here,
forget
Jen. I mean, the conflict of
everything. No, I
interest is
think,
something different. I
but
mean,
then
Imam
I
ul
will,
Haq
I mean,
I
stock
to
will,
hasn't
put
gone up
everything
yet.
into short, I think he's just a puppet in a long,
it's a
long
Yeah,
scapegoat.
it did make
candle
It's
any
an
that's
sense.
going on.
absolute
Yeah,
Because
he's
you're
just a
scapegoat.
talking about
scapegoat.
Shaheen Babar and Rizwan over here, and these three are your mainstays in your team. So I think they anyways had automatic selection. This conflict of interest thing doesn't even come when
Absolutely.
you're talking about Babar, Rizwan, and Shaheen, because you're telling me you would have gone to the World Cup without Shaheen Babar and Rizwan. No way, that was not going to happen. So
I
they are
mean, I
automatic
think
selection.
if you guys have watched Harsha Bhogle and what he said on Pakistan cricket, absolutely spot on. That's the root of the problem. For those of you not aware of what he said, just go back to CrickBuzz or just find that clip. You'll probably find it on Instagram. What he said is absolutely right. You need to stop this chaos. I think Kudrat Ka Nizam has been saving Pakistan cricket for a long time. It all had to come to a head. The kind of corruption they've had in their administration was going to come to a head. It has. I think whenever you have corruption when it comes to the board and the management, how much ever coaches you change, whatever you do, it's happened to Zimbabwe, it happened to West Indies, it was bound to happen to Pakistan. I mean, history has taught us. It's happened to BCCI in the early, before the 2000s. So it's not something that cricket teams are not alien to. If you can change a coach, you can change a captain, you can change the whole goddamn team, but as long as you have corrupt officials sitting in your board, in your administration, the team's never going to do well. It's just going to be the cycle repeating again and again.
Absolutely. I think Pakistan are playing tomorrow against Bangladesh, an interesting game in Kolkata in Eden Gardens. We don't know Bangladesh is also on a landslide, going just down and down. And I hope Bangladesh recovers from that loss against Netherlands. And Pakistan would want to get back to winning ways and give some glimmer of hope to stay alive in the tournament. So that's about it from us for tonight. I will be back tomorrow in the afternoon for the preview and also for the post show. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to share and subscribe to our channel, and also click the like button, so that really helps us with the algorithms. And check out our app Boomer 11 on Apple App Store and also Google Play Store. If you are somewhere new here, if you are new to fantasy, check it out because free to play features also available. If you want to check out our premium contest, get into our shop, purchase few items from our shop. You can be groceries, there'll be accessories, earn some Boomer coins, enter into the contest via earning the Boomer coins. Then obviously you can earn some premium gifts as well. Gifts worth close to 5,000 dirhams are available right now. So that's some major gifts available for you on Boomer app. So check it out. The link is in the description. Take care, all of you, and good night, and see you all very soon.
Good
Bye,
night,
guys.
guys.